I don't know if y'all can see it, but I got a big old split in the sidewall of this tire. Now, I've tried to repair it from the inside with a patch, and I did, and it lasted for a couple of years, but it's starting to leak again. Corey, you may ask, why don't you just go buy a new tire? Well, these are System 3s, and they are the XT300. Well, these tires have been discontinued, and I'm just not ready to buy a set of 4 of them yet. So today, we're gonna try and put an inner tube in this thing and see if that'll work. So y'all stick with me, and we'll get with it. Before we go any further, I need you to go down right under this video right here and hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Now, the first thing we're gonna do is get this tire off the bike. All right, that's done. Let's get it up on the table and we'll take a look at it. So obviously we're gonna need an inner tube. Now, if you're gonna do this, just go ahead and make sure you get the right size one for your tire. This is a 33 by 10, so they do come sized, and I'll have a link in the description below. Something else I think you're gonna need, try and make this a little easier, is some baby powder. This inner tube is gonna be really sticky. Now, let me grab my battery. Now these tires are beadlocks. These wheels are beadlock beads. So obviously, this will be a little different procedure if you don't have beadlocks. But one thing I will say is that if you're strictly using your wheel for off-road, beadlocks are hard to beat. These things have saved me a ton of time removing tires to patch them, removing tires to change out leaking Schrader valves. The beadlocks really come in handy. And speaking of Schrader valves, that's the first thing we're gonna wanna do is remove the Schrader valve. Now I had to pump up this tire just to move it, so it's got a little air in it, but not much. You can see here's the slit right here, man. It's just huge. All right, it's already empty. Now we're gonna take the bolts off of the beadlock. I'm gonna put them in a container. What I'm gonna do is soak them in WD-40 while I'm working. Now this little 1/4-inch impact really doesn't have a whole lot of torque to it, but I wouldn't use a big one. I wouldn't use a 1/2 inch for this job, or even a better DeWalt. My son's got a DeWalt that's got 3 times the torque this little thing's got. This Ryobi is not real strong, but it sure does the job with wood screws, deck screws and stuff. All right, so now I got my little hot dog container full of bolts, and we're just gonna put some WD-40 down in there. Let these soak while we're working. Just kind of clean them up a little bit, get some of the crud off of them. All right, we'll set these to the side. We'll go ahead and pull the ring off. One thing about beadlocks is when these little individual crevices get full of mud, ain't nothing you can do about it. It's hard to get clean. In fact, I'm gonna go ahead and spray it off while I got it off the bike. Y'all give me a minute. So the nice thing about a beadlock is when I put this thing down on the ground to move it, the top bead came off already. Now the back bead is just like any other bead, and it's a pain to take on and off. But what I'm hoping is I can actually get this done with the room that I have to put my hand inside with just this front bead removed. We're gonna give it a shot. So the first thing we wanna do with the tire, we wanna try and take this watch off. I wanna scratch it up. We gotta get the Schrader valve itself out because the tube is gonna have one built into it. So we're gonna try and get this channel lock in here. So if you grab the Schrader valve with a little channel lock, it should pull out relatively easy. If you can get a grip on it, which I am not having any luck. So I guess what we'll do is we'll cut it off, try and get that lip off of it. And that was way too easy. So we've cut our valve off, but we still got to pull it out the back. Put the lips off of it now, so basically it's going to fall out, which it did. Now I'm hoping I got enough room to slide that tube in there. I really think I will. So what we want to do now is we want to get our tube opened up. Let me get this tire dried off as much as I can. Sticky rubber, wet rubber is going to be sticky rubber. All right, let's get our tube out. Get it opened up. So you can see the valve is built in and it's double nutted. You want one nut on the back of the rim and one nut on the top. We're gonna make sure our Schrader valve is tight in there. It is. We're gonna put just a little bit of air in here so it kind of holds its shape. All right, we don't even have a pound in there, but we got just enough to give it a little bit of shape. Now let's make a mess. Let's put some baby powder on this thing. It's a little bit windy out here. Oh, good idea to do this in a black shirt. Now that should really stop it from sticking to the tire. Now you want to find your hole in your rim, and that's where we're going to start. We're going to see if we can get this valve in here. Now, if I did have an actual tire tool, I would have removed the back bead as well, but it's just a pain for me, so I'm gonna do it this way. And I think this is gonna be the hardest part, but I've got it through. Now, once it's through, you want to put that nut on the outside. So you're going to have to hold it in the hole and feel your way. All right, we got it started. That's a good thing. With it being started, we know that this tube is going to stay right where it's supposed to on the rim. Now we can just work it in around the bead. I don't think folding it is really going to hurt it, because once it's in there, there's going to be plenty of room in that tire for it to lay down. And that is really why I wanted the baby powder on it, so it doesn't stick and it can allow itself to do what it needs to do in there. I'll go ahead and get a wrench and tighten up this nut on this Schrader valve. Let's try 12. That's what it is. All right. So before I put the beadlock ring back on, I'm gonna put a little bit of air in it and kind of make sure it's falling how it needs to fall. All right, let's take a look. Oh yeah, it's not folded up. No, it's in there good. So now we just got to get this bead back on the top, and we'll be good to go. After thinking about it, I remembered that what I usually do is sit this rim down on a bucket. That way the weight of the tire is actually helping you put this bead on. Now with the bead lock, it's gonna be really easy. We just need to get it right inside the lip, which we're gonna be able to do with our hands and maybe a screwdriver just to get it started. And that is legitimately all it takes with a bead lock. And we can put our ring back on. Now, you don't want to start these bolts with an impact. You want to start them by hand and leave them good and loose till you get all of them in. And then you can tighten them in a cross pattern just like you would your tires. So let me get all of these started. We've got them all started by hand, and now I'm gonna go back with the impact. Now, like I said before, this thing is not real powerful. I would not apply too much torque to these lock rings, bolts, these beadlock bolts, but I am comfortable using this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get them to where they just barely bottom out, and I'm gonna go crossways on each side. And what you'll see as you do this, your bead ring itself is actually gonna bend. So that's why you don't wanna go too much on each one, and stay consistent. Now, even though I've got them all snug, you don't want to just beat on them with the impact, even with a small one. But we do want to get them tight. So I'm going to go crisscross again 2 more times, and then I'll go around this way and make sure everything's good and tight. You'll be able to look at your ring and see that it's seated. But now I'm going to go and just make a complete circle, ensuring that I did not miss any. And you see I'm not hitting them hard. Now, that is all of them. So, you can see where this thing was sitting flat for a while. So what I'm gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and put about 15 pounds of air in this thing. I usually run them quite low. I usually run them between 8 and 10 regularly if I'm just gonna be riding around gravel roads and whatnot. I have taken it to Utah before, do a little rock climbing, and I really let a lot of air out of them. But if I know I'm gonna be on a pavement or something, I'll pump them up to about 15. So that's what I'm gonna put in it now. we will need a battery. I got 11.5 pounds of pressure in it. This is a big tire. It's taking a little while with this little compressor. But we're gonna let it sit for about 15 minutes or so. Make sure it holds air, and then we'll be done. Let's check it out. While I was waiting, I went ahead and put the wheel back on the bike. And we're at 11.5 pounds. So there you go. That is how to put an inner tube on your side-by-side of your four-wheeler or whatever the case may be. This is a Can-Am Defender Max 6. And like I said, System 3 has discontinued these tires, and I just wasn't ready to get a new one yet. I'm confident with the beadlocks that even if I run them low, I'm not gonna get any slippage between the tire and the tube. So guys, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Like I said earlier, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. I've always got some cool reviews and how-tos and something you'll probably enjoy. And until next time, I'll see y'all on Everyday Man.